Welcome to HackAware. Today, we are undertaking a really critical deep dive. We're examining a financial scheme that's currently operating in Sri Lanka.
And it's one that has generated a lot of reports, a lot of community interest.
Right. So our mission here is to cut through all the marketing noise, ignore the promises, and look solely at the core operational mechanics we're seeing in the investigative sources before us. So today, the question we are asking is this: TM investment scheme in Sri Lanka. Is it an investment platform or a Ponzi scam? A HackAware investigation.
And for the purpose of this investigation, and just for clarity, when we're talking about the structural risks, we're going to refer to Triumph Media House INC as the TM investment scheme.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
And before we go any further, we really have to ask you, the listener, to just pause with us for a moment.
This is really important.
It is. If you're already involved in this scheme, or if, someone you trust, a friend, a community leader, a family member brought you in, we just ask that you listen fully without getting defensive.
We get it. We know many participants are currently receiving payments. And look, when money is flowing, the system feels secure. It feels real.
Exactly. But this deep dive exists for one clear, unambiguous purpose: to reduce harm.
We're explaining these consistent warning patterns, the observable mechanics that, historically appear right before a systemic collapse.
Because waiting until a platform collapses, that only benefits the anonymous operators. And by then, the losses are sudden, they're massive, and ultimately they're irreversible.
Okay, so let's jump straight into the investigative findings. What did the source material actually compile?
We're focused purely on the structural analysis here, the operational mechanics, the incentive models, basically what drives participant behavior.
And the core finding. It's pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. The investigation assesses that the TM investment scheme exhibits multiple high-risk indicators that are consistent with a very specific financial fraud model.
Okay, what are they calling it?
They're calling it a task investment Ponzi scheme, incorporating pyramid-style recruitment dynamics.
Wow, that's a severe classification.
It is, but it's one based entirely on the structural evidence, not on how the platform, labels itself.
And that structural evidence is key. So the report's objective is to document these mechanisms.
Right. To document the mechanisms, identify the systemic risks, both financial and social, outline the potential consequences based on what's happened before, and then provide some immediate harm reduction guidance.
So where did this all start? Where did the investigation come from? It wasn't prompted by competitors, right?
No, not at all. The source material is very clear on this. The inquiry only began after they received multiple reports from community members in Sri Lanka.
So people on the ground, people who were participating or being recruited.
Exactly. And the initial concerns consistently centered around three key observations.
Let me guess. The first one is that you have to pay to play.
That's it. The need for deposit-based participation. The second was the promise of predictable returns. And the third, this intense focus on recruitment-driven growth.
And the methodology they used was purely looking at the mechanics.
Purely. Platform interface analysis, a review of the earning structure, referral mapping, and then comparing it all against established global financial fraud frameworks.
So what does Triumph Media House INC actually say it is? How do they present themselves?
Well, according to their public materials, they claim to be an international digital media, advertising, and technology company.
Offering task-based earning opportunities.
Right. But when we look under the hood, the features that are observed, they tell a much more specific story.
Like what?
Well, for starters, mandatory deposits are required to activate any earning potential. There are tiered earning levels V1, V2, V3, and so on.
And pre-calculated daily income figures that are the same for everyone in that tier.
Exactly. And formalized team-based reward mechanisms for recruitment. It's a very structured system.
And we have to acknowledge the current reality here. I mean, this is why community trust is so high right now. Payouts are occurring.
Oh, absolutely. The platform is visible, it's operational, recruitment events are ongoing across the country. These are facts, and no investigation can dispute them.
But this leads us to that crucial, almost dangerous insight.
That current payouts alone are not indicators of legitimacy. This is the moment where history always repeats itself.
The period when a scheme feels safest
is often the period of highest systemic risk. Skepticism fades, reinvestment increases, and the pool of exposed people just grows exponentially. We have to evaluate these payouts within the broader structural context.
Okay, so let's unpack that structure. The investigation used a consistent method, identifying warning signs common to schemes that have collapsed globally. Let's dig into the 4 big ones.
All right, let's start with warning sign 1, deposit-based participation, or, the pay-to-earn mechanism.
The observed behavior here is explicit. Users must deposit funds to activate earning. You can't do anything without that initial capital.
And what's more, your income is directly proportional to the size of that deposit.
Right. They advertise examples like V1 requires an LKR 7 of 800 deposit for a fixed daily income.
And V2 jumps to LKR 25,800. V3 goes all the way up to LKR 90,000 for a much, much higher return.
And that creates a psychological trap, doesn't it?
It's a classic escalation ladder. You put in 7,800, you get a small return, so the next logical step feels like moving up to V2 or V3 to maximize that daily payment. It's called deposit escalation.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. For the participant who might be thinking, but I am doing a task, I'm completing clicks, I'm watching ads, doesn't that generate revenue?
That is a vital question. And the risk implication is that your earnings are tied directly to the capital input, the size of your deposit, not to any real productive output.
Like verifiable campaign results or actual ad performance.
Exactly. If a legitimate advertiser paid you to watch one small ad, they might pay 1 or 2 rupees, right? The risk report states that when earnings are this high and this fixed, they align squarely with what we call redistribution-based financial models.
Meaning, can you break that down for someone who's never heard that term?
Sure. Essentially, you are not being paid for the task you're doing. You are being paid back a tiny fraction of your own deposit, supplemented by the capital of the newest person who just joined.
So the system needs constant new capital to redistribute.
That's it. It doesn't need actual external advertising revenue. It needs new deposits.
So if the input is capital, let's talk about the output. Warning sign 2, pre-calculated or guaranteed returns.
Right. The sources note that earnings are displayed in advance, the daily income is predictable, and the returns are absolutely uniform for everyone in the same tier.
Why is predictability the second major red flag?
Because legitimate businesses just don't work that way. They operate in a volatile market, they face risk, competition, fluctuating revenue.
No genuine media or advertising company or any real investment can guarantee fixed, consistent returns without transparent, verifiable external revenue to back it up.
So consistency without transparency is, in itself, a massive high-risk indicator. It's a mechanism designed to eliminate doubt and encourage you to reinvest, but it's just not compatible with real commercial activity.
Which brings us to the growth mechanism. The third sign, recruitment-dependent growth.
We know the referral incentives are formally structured, team building is actively encouraged.
And your income growth correlates directly with how many people you recruit.
Yes, and this is where we need to be precise with the terminology. You mentioned earlier the classification was a task investment Ponzi scheme incorporating pyramid-style recruitment dynamics.
Right, so what's the difference between the Ponzi and the pyramid part here?
It's a great point. A classic Ponzi scheme primarily uses new investor funds to pay returns to the earlier investors. A pyramid scheme is more focused on recruiting new members who pay a fee, and that fee gets passed up the chain.
And the TM investment scheme.
Yeah.
It does both.
It integrates both. The Ponzi element is what handles those daily fixed returns. They're funded by the deposits. But the pyramid element is what supercharges the growth.
So team leaders are incentivized to recruit heavily, and their income is tied to the volume of new recruits and their escalating deposits.
And that dependency on continuous onboarding, on new funds, it just increases the systemic fragility dramatically. If recruitment slows down, the ability to pay out those high daily returns, it vanishes almost instantly. That new money is the lifeblood of the whole system.
Okay, and finally, warning sign 4, which is all about psychology. Trust amplification mechanisms.
This is where the scheme steps out of the digital world and into the real one.
We see reports of physical gifts being distributed, mobile phones, even public aid and charitable activities, all with strong visual branding.
I have to pause on that one, though. If they're giving out expensive items like iPhones, which the report notes, doesn't that require a huge budget? Doesn't that suggest they might actually be a legitimate, profitable business?
It's the common sense question every single participant asks. But the report's finding is that these actions are strategic. They function as emotional trust multipliers.
So you see a friend with a new phone, or you see the company logo on a community support project.
And it provides physical, tangible proof that just overrides any abstract mathematical doubt you might have.
Exactly. They're literally buying community confidence. But these rewards, whether they're donations or gifts, they don't demonstrate long-term revenue sustainability. They don't explain where the daily income is actually coming from.
It's a marketing expense.
A very clever one designed to lower the guard of new, skeptical recruits.
Yeah.
It's deeply manipulative. It's about weaponizing community trust.
And here's where it gets, for me, really interesting. We have to look at the historical precedent.
Yes. The investigation compared the TM scheme structure to other major collapses, specifically the massive global crypto scheme OneCoin.
And the devastating task-based investment app collapses we've seen across Asia and Africa.
And the key lesson from these collapses is absolutely vital, and it's non-negotiable.
Which is?
Failure occurred because of structural dependency on new funds. It wasn't because the operator suddenly felt guilty and decided to stop paying.
Right. For years, OneCoin supporters were being paid regularly. They recruited millions. But when that inflow of new money slowed down, the whole thing just failed. Abruptly.
Scale, visibility, current payment history, none of it prevented the inevitable mathematical collapse.
So let's detail the if. What happens when schemes with this exact structure collapse?
The report details the standard outcome. Platforms shut down abruptly, usually overnight. The operators become anonymous and unreachable.
And all the funds left in the system, the deposits, the reinvested earnings, they're just gone. Unrecoverable. There's no central office to call.
And crucially, the financial losses disproportionately affect the late-stage participants, the people who join in the last few months or even weeks.
They pay in, but they never get a return.
And the social fallout is severe. Anger moves sideways, not upward. After a collapse, victims typically go after the known intermediaries, the friend, the local coordinator, the neighbor who introduced them, not the anonymous operators they'll never find.
The community fabric itself is damaged.
Deeply.
Which leads us directly to the serious topic of legal risk under Sri Lankan law.
Yes, the sources warn that promoting or facilitating these kinds of unlicensed, deposit-based schemes may attract criminal liability under local law.
That's why the social fallout is so relevant. When authorities get involved, the investigations don't just stop with the platform, they expand outward.
They expand to include the local recruiters, promoters, and team coordinators who actively benefited.
And if financial harm to the public is established, saying, "I didn't know," provides very limited protection.
Especially because you gained a financial benefit while encouraging others to deposit their money.
So for any promoters or recruiters listening, getting out now early significantly lowers your personal, legal, and financial risk down the line.
Absolutely. Before the harm becomes widespread and documented, this investigation is aimed at prevention, not punishment.
So what does all this mean for someone who's involved right now? This guidance from the investigation, it's designed purely for risk mitigation.
Yes, for harm reduction. If you're currently a participant, the guidance is specific. Avoid reinvestment escalation immediately.
Reduce your financial exposure. Withdraw what you can while you can.
And most importantly, do not rely on long-term income projections. They are based on an unsustainable model.
And if you're a promoter or a recruiter, the guidance is even more direct.
It is. Cease promotion immediately. Do not encourage anyone else to deposit money or pressure them financially.
The sources even recommend specific actions, like distancing yourself from all recruitment and seriously considering filing a formal complaint now to the authorities.
Which helped establish good faith and cooperation later on if things go badly.
And we really have to spend a moment on why this risk is so much higher in Sri Lanka specifically.
The economic environment here just amplifies the harm. Household savings are often fragile, debt pressure is common, and many people rely on informal borrowing.
So when these huge community-driven schemes fail, the consequences are devastating. It's not just the money that's gone.
It's the social relationships that fracture. Community trust just erodes instantly and completely.
So the report's final position is based entirely on structural sustainability, historical precedent, and the risk of public harm.
Not on the platform's current popularity or how confident its participants feel right now. The investigators state clearly that to be silent in light of these documented risks would be negligent.
Let's reiterate the core conclusion one more time.
Triumph Media House Inc. exhibits multiple high-risk indicators consistent with the task investment Ponzi schemes we've seen collapse globally. The structural mathematics of the system mean it cannot sustain itself forever.
The time to assess that structural risk is now, while you still have options to reduce your exposure. Current payment does not guarantee future security.
And collective belief in the scheme. It does not prevent the inevitable collapse.
We urge you, the listener, to review the structural evidence provided here. Decide independently based on the facts of the mechanism itself, and protect those around you by sharing this information.
The most dangerous thing about a structural collapse isn't just the financial loss. It's the complete and immediate erosion of community trust. When the platform fails, who do you trust next?
Stay sharp.
Stay safe.
Stay HackAware.